Christopher Lampert spoke with AST today, and they said they sent all the shares to brokers on December 14th. And then TD told me that they have the shares but are awaiting DTCC distribution guidelines. They don't have anything. That sounds like buck passing to me there, Christopher. If they have anything, they have like 6 they can give out. And they're just trying to figure out who's going to get those 6 shares because the other 10,000 shareholders aren't getting jack. Eric, it will probably be found that there are more than 200 million counterfeits, like way more than 500 million. And all the negotiation talk, gray market talk is useless. That's why I think the best thing to do, or the best thing for us, is to force them to trade for 2 more days. Do what they promised they're going to do, follow through, close positions, and hopefully the judge is like, I don't care if it's going to cost like $1 jillion. You did it. Suffer the consequences. So, I'm holding out for that. And if another step has to come along the way, then we'll do that one. Kevin Fitzpatrick, we get liquidated if we don't pay them. Why don't shorts? And can we identify them? Who are they for the large part? We can't specifically identify them because no one has to list their short positions on things. The reason why we get liquidated when we don't meet margin, we get margin called, is because we have a pittance. It's that old adage, like, if you owe the bank $1,000, that's your problem. If you owe the bank $1 billion, that's the bank's problem. These hedge funds are so overextended that if they did margin call them, everyone's screwed. No one can take on the liabilities. Because remember, if you have $1 billion in assets, you're allowed to borrow $30 billion. 30x. So if you're getting margin called on that $30 billion and you get liquidated out of your $1 billion, that takes care of 1/30 of what you owe. Doink. Right? And you still have $29 billion that's now liability that's sitting in the accounts of the prime broker, which is why Credit Suisse is about to die from just margin calling and liquidating Archegos 2 years ago. They have billions of dollars in liabilities still sitting on their books from 2 years ago from Archegos, and it's eating away at them. They can't close their positions. They don't have the cash on hand to do it because Archegos, a little $800 million family fund, had racked up so much debt that it's going to take down one of the most prestigious and oldest investment banks in the world. That is why they don't liquidate these hedge funds, is because they gave them too much money. And the hedge funds know it. They know they're terrified of liquidating these guys. So all the hedge funds that have like been liquidated or shut down, they're all small. They got, $100 million here, $300 million there. They're not the ones with like billions in assets. Even Melvin in their wind down, we have not seen them sell anything off. So they wound down, but somehow their assets are still not being sold. So I don't know quite when, where, how, who that stuff will happen. It might just be an emergency liquidity crisis to just collapses everything at once, and we all just go, "Oh my gosh, what do we do?" And I don't know. Then they like break glass and retrieve the fire axe and figure out what happens. BW Brand, I was at Enron's door when they died. He's in Texas, was in school there. Yeah, Enron, one of the biggest collapses ever, and the liability they created pales in comparison to the liability of the average hedge fund at this point. It's just like trying to wrap your head around the numbers involved. And in my interview with Graham yesterday, he was definitely like trying to wrap his head around the numbers we've been throwing around for liabilities, and the hundreds of trillions, possibly quadrillions of dollars of derivatives they're just like swapping around constantly to avoid the spaghettios of having to like close positions, and your brain just can't comprehend. You get to so many zeros, it doesn't really matter anymore, right? Like you talk to a little kid, a little 3-year-old, and you ask like, "What's the biggest number you can think of?" And they're like, 17. You're like, "Whoa, that's a big number." What about 300? And they're like, incomprehensible. How can something be 300? When you get to enough zeros, and I deal with astronomical numbers, I can state what these numbers are. My brain still has not comprehended what they mean, right? And I do a little with my math students. I try to like get them to comprehend like exponents and what these large numbers are and scientific notation and stuff. I give them the example. You know, Dr. Dre sold Beats by Dre to Apple for like $4 billion, right? So Apple cuts Dre a $4 billion check. Shaboom. Dr. Dre's like, sweet, going to the strip club. And Dr. Dre wants to make it rain $1 billion in ones at the strip club, right? He wants to make it rain $1 billion in ones. Just checka 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 checka, right? I want my students to figure out if Dr. Dre, let's say Dr. Dre puts in a feeding tube, puts in a catheter and a colostomy bag that's constantly being changed by nurses. They're pumping him full of amphetamine so he never goes to sleep, and you can make it rain $3 a second, three $1 bills a second. How long is it going to take Dr. Dre to make it rain $1 billion? Right? Well, you got to do the math. Figure out how many minutes there are in a year, how many seconds there are in a minute. You know, multiply that sucker by 3, divide it by 1 billion, and you're at like 11 and a half years of Dr. Dre making it rain ones. These numbers are ridiculous. Can you imagine making it rain $1 bills 3 times a second for 11 and a half years? And by then, you know, the strippers are like having babies of their own, and they're getting crushed under the like millions of pounds of $1 bills that are just like breaking all their bones and turning them into like goo on the floor. So these numbers are huge, absolutely freakishly gigantic. And you know, there's the human brain is not designed to comprehend numbers of this size. So here we are trying to deal with them, figure out how it's going to work out. How are we going to get FINRA to make it rain on us? Come on, FINRA. How long is it going to take you? How are you going to make sure that we get our billions in 2 days? Right? Well, brokers just took out a $500 billion bond. We've got $2.5 trillion sitting in our nightly reverse repo. We've got a Federal Reserve sitting on $8 trillion in assets right now. So there is money. There is money there. It's just they got to destroy a whole bunch of rich guys whose dads are rich guys, whose dads' dads are rich guys, whose dads' dads are rich guys, whose dads signed the Declaration of Independence. And those are the guys that we have to just pop and just squeeze all the juice out of them we can, because they got to pay us. And that's where we are. So, welcome to La Resistance. Viva la Resistance, eat the rich. Okay. Ozzy Smith, do we know that for a fact AST is full, or is that just speculation? By all means, Ozzy, go and try to register your shares. See what they say. You get them on, get monkey by a treat. Okay. Watch this. Ready? She's under this blanket right now. She's going to hear me grab a bag, and then her brain's gonna go, oh my god. Oh, did I grab a bag? Did that happen? Yeah. Oh, can you come up here? Can you come up here and get it? Can you come up here and get it? Oh. There you go. Good job. Merry Christmas, little buddy. Thank Mystery Mike out there in the Big On for your little treats. Oh. Ryan Hurt with the chill in place wouldn't help Rosa with her lawsuit. Yeah, because the only reason that chill would be in place is if all these brokerages are full of synthetics. That's the only reason. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a chill in place. So if the judge asks, like, oh, why is there this chill? She'd be like, it's because they have so many synthetics, they don't know what to do with it, and they can't register the shares. Therefore, they got to close these positions. Because remember, Your Honor, they must close short positions before the stock goes private. Now the stock is private, and we still have short positions that are against the law. So you have to open up trading for 2 more days. It's really good. It's a really good argument, I think, for the judge to go, all right, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.